At family dinner, Dad asked if the money helped. I said what money, then looked at Mom. Is $2,000 a month enough, Anna? I was picking up a piece of roasted sweet potato Mom's staple for every Thanksgiving when Dad dropped that question as casually as asking if I wanted more gravy. I blinked, set my fork down. Not because I was full, but because my hand froze. What money, I asked, unsure if I'd heard right. I'm not one for theatrics, but that night for a split second I wished I could pretend. Flash a smile, say, "Oh sure," as if everything was fine. But it wasn't. I glanced at Mom. She said nothing, didn't look at me, just kept slicing the half-carved turkey. Dinner continued for a few seconds, but something in the air had hardened. Even the jazz from the corner speaker seemed to falter. I'm Anna Patterson, 24, a final-year medical student at the University of Pennsylvania, Philadelphia. I've never shared this with anyone beyond my journal, but after that night I realized silence was no longer an option. I'm the eldest daughter of Michael and Susan. Sister to Lena, the family's darling, called Little Len Princess Angel. She's studying fashion in Los Angeles. If you've scrolled past glittering Instagram posts with designer bags, silk dresses, and West Hollywood brunches, you might have glimpsed her life. Me, I have a worn-out medical backpack, shoes that have lasted 3 seasons, and a schedule packed from 7 a.m. to past midnight. I never envied her, until that moment. I thought maybe Dad was mistaken. Maybe he assumed Mom sent me money, but she hadn't. Maybe I'd missed something. I swallowed hard, keeping my voice light. I've never received a dime, Dad. He turned to Mom. His voice wasn't loud, but sharp. Susan, Mom, wiped her mouth with a cloth napkin slowly, as if hoping the issue would vanish if she stayed calm. I thought... She paused. The money would be better used elsewhere. Elsewhere, Dad's voice dropped. You said you'd handle Anna's transfers? I did, Mom replied, eyes fixed nowhere. For Lena, the room fell silent. I don't recall exactly what happened next. I just remember forcing down a few bites, trying to act normal in a normal dinner. But Mom's words afterward, I remember them clearer than the taste of the roast. Lena needs it. Her field demands high costs. Networking, image, fashion. And Anna, she's always been good at getting by. I laughed. Really, I did. A warped, soundless laugh like breath caught in my throat. Because it wasn't the first time I'd heard Mom say that. I just never knew getting by meant I didn't need help. After dinner, I stepped onto the balcony. Chicago was colder than I remembered, but I needed air. I stood there clutching my old coat, watching the yellow light spill from the kitchen window where Mom was clearing dishes. As if nothing had happened. I'd thought our family was fine. Not perfect, but fine. I believed effort would earn recognition. Love. That balance would come if I tried hard enough. But tonight, something broke in the silence. When I returned to the living room, Dad was gone. Mom was carefully packing leftovers, labeling containers as she did every year. No one looked at me. I went to my old room where I grew up, with pale green curtains and faded posters. On the desk was a note in Dad's handwriting. I can't believe this. I need time to think. And you should, too. No signature. None needed. I didn't sleep that night. Eyes wide, ears tuned to every footstep, door creak, clock tick. I thought about last month, choosing between a new anatomy textbook or Rent. I picked Rent, kept the coffee-stained book. I thought about eating cold, instant noodles in the hospital break room, mornings waking with headaches from no sleep, no nutrients. And meanwhile, Lena was sipping matcha lattes, wearing silk dresses, posting, "Thank you, Mom." I didn't know what happened to fairness. I just knew if I didn't speak now, I'd forever be the one good at enduring. I opened my phone, went to the travel app. Round trip to Philadelphia. Departure tomorrow morning. Cheap 2 layovers. I didn't care. Before bed, I opened Instagram. Scrolled to Lena's latest story. She was laughing on a rooftop, music blaring. Caption, "Living the dream." All thanks to Mom, I snapped a photo of my hand-chipped nails peeling skin hoodie unwashed for 4 days. I didn't post. I saved it. To remind myself one person's dream can be another's nightmare. The next morning I left before anyone woke. But I knew I wasn't fleeing. I was returning to claim something mine, not money, not love, but truth. I always thought silence was just the space between words. I was wrong. Some silences are sharp as knives slicing through the frailest parts of the heart. That early March evening, I felt it not with my ears, but my entire body. That night, I came home earlier than usual. As I stepped into the kitchen, I heard Dad's voice, not loud but taut. "You sent all the savings," to who Mom didn't answer right away. I froze in the hallway, grocery bag in hand, heart sinking. "Lena," she said after a pause. "She needs a solid start. She just graduated. And Anna, she's strong, she can manage." My chest tightened. Dad stood the chair, scraping the wooden floor. "You took all the savings for one kid without asking me, and the other, the one still living here up till 2 a.m. every day, managing everything. You tell her to fend for herself." I don't know how long I stood there. Until Mom looked up, her eyes meeting mine. I didn't cry, didn't yell, just turned to my room, closed the door. But the silence didn't stay outside. It followed me to my core. Lena didn't come home that night. I don't know why. Maybe Mom texted her to stay at the dorm. Maybe she sensed the tension. But what I knew, no one called me down for dinner. No one knocked to ask if I was okay. And in my head, Mom's voice echoed Anna's strong, "She can manage." I wrote those words on paper, then scratched them out until the desk tore. The next morning, I found a note on the dining table. Dad's writing. "I can't believe this. I need to think. Don't call. No signature. No promise of return." Mom sat across, holding her coffee as if nothing unusual had happened. "Mom," I started. "Mom, do you think I'm worth protecting, too?" She set the mug down, her gaze sliding elsewhere. "You don't need my protection, Anna. You've always been the one who gets back up. Lena, she's fragile. Have you ever asked if I'm tired, or just saw me as strong to feel okay about it?" Mom was silent. That silence hurt more than any answer could, because it confirmed yes, she'd never asked. That evening, Lena came home. As the door opened, I stepped into the living room, looking straight at her. "You knew, didn't you?" She avoided my eyes. "I didn't ask for the money. Mom gave it. I didn't force her. But you took it. Because I needed it. I'm not like you. You're fine. Always fine." I laughed, the driest sound I'd ever made. "What do you know about what I've endured to be fine? Have you ever asked?" She didn't answer. Just turned away. Silence again. I went upstairs, opened my laptop, tried to work as always. But my mind spun. Couldn't focus. I typed on a blank page. "Strength doesn't mean needing no one. Sometimes strength is just knowing if I don't hold on, no one will catch me." I stopped. Closed the laptop. In the kitchen, Mom was packing food into containers. For Lena, I asked. "She doesn't eat enough. She looks so pale." I took a deep breath. "Ever think, maybe I've lost weight too, and you just didn't notice?" Mom froze, but then turned away. Still no apology, just excuses. I didn't understand. Did she truly not see, or choose not to? Days later, Dad still hadn't returned. Lena avoided me. Mom lived as if things would be fine if we don't mention them. And me, for the first time, I wondered, am I living in a home, or just a tenant among people too familiar to truly see each other? Then one morning, a text from Dad, "I'll come see you, alone, to listen, and speak honestly." Some hungers don't come from the stomach. They come from absence of someone checking in, a hand reaching out when you're about to fall, a voice saying, "You deserve help." Philadelphia months earlier. Those days felt like a damp shirt, not bone-chilling, but always clinging to my skin. I didn't starve, but I never felt truly alive. The dorm only covered my first year. After that, I moved to a shared rental with 2 other students. Cramped, moldy bathroom kitchen reeking of burnt onions. I worked 3 jobs: barista at a morning cafe, waitressing at an Italian restaurant at night, and freelance data entry for an online ad company after hours. Daily, I ate 2 packs of noodles, one at noon, one at midnight. I added cheap greens from the Vietnamese market to feel like it was a meal. My shoes' soles tore last month, patched with New York Times pages from the cafe. I couldn't recall the last time I bought a textbook. I used scanned copies, or snuck photocopies in the library. Meanwhile, Lena got a new iPad. I had a phone with a cracked screen. That Friday night, I took an extra shift at a bar. Packed crowd, loud voices, glaring lights. I hadn't eaten since morning. As I turned to deliver a tray of cocktails to a corner table, everything swayed. I heard a faint, "She's about to faint." Then darkness. I woke in the hospital at dawn. White lights, cold bed food drip in my arm. I looked around, no familiar faces. A nurse came in asking my name to confirm records. I nodded. "You had severe low blood pressure and dehydration. Do you have family we can call?" I handed my phone. The emergency contact field was empty. I scrolled to Mom, hesitated. Didn't call. I didn't want that call met with a sigh. "Why weren't you more careful?" I shook my head quietly. The nurse nodded. She understood. Probably saw it often. An hour later, the door opened. I thought it was the doctor. But no, it was Callum. A classmate from my design group, someone I'd teamed up with a few times. "I heard from the nurse you had no one. I figured you wouldn't want to call anyone," he said softly. "So I brought some stuff." In his hands, a paper bag from the campus bakery, a hot soup cup, and an egg sandwich. "How'd you know where I was?" "You dropped your student ID." I found it and guessed the nearest hospital. I wanted to cry, but I was too weak. Instead, I nodded. "Thanks." Callum sat beside me, not asking more. Just opened the soup, handed me a spoon. I ate slowly, small sips. Warm, truly warm. "Anyone you want to know about this?" Callum asked. I shook my head. "My family thinks I'm strong. They wouldn't get it. Strength doesn't mean alone." "Anna," he said, pausing, "if you need a ride home next time, or just want to listen to music together, call me." I didn't know what to say. Just looked out the window. A ray of sunlight touched the bed's edge. I was discharged that afternoon. On the way home, I typed a text to Mom. "Mom, I fainted yesterday." Then deleted it. Not because I didn't need her to know, but because I knew she wouldn't ask. "Are you okay? But how'd you let it get that bad?" Callum walked beside me. When I stumbled from moving too fast, he steadied my arm. "Careful. No one needs you to keep pushing forever." I smiled, a rare one. That night I wrote in my journal, "I don't need the world to understand. Just one person. One is enough to keep going. But is one enough to face a family that chose silence over honest love?" It's strange how people can grow up in the same family yet feel like they're from different planets. One learns to count pennies for weekend greens. Another chooses between a Burberry coat or a Zara dress for simplicity. I began to understand unfairness isn't just in money, but in how one name is nurtured to dream big, while another is taught only to endure. After Thanksgiving, I didn't call home. Mom didn't call me. No texts from Dad. Lena kept posting lavish brunches with friends in Los Angeles, lookbook shoots, dinners at rooftop bars overlooking the ocean. Captions, "Breezy life is beautiful." Each photo felt like a slap, not from envy but from confusion. How could it be so easy for her? One night I couldn't take it. I called Lena. "Mind if I ask straight, how much does Mom send you monthly?" A pause, then $3,500. I froze. "What $3,500? "Regular." Mom said I need a solid start. I rent a studio. I have to network. Life here isn't cheap. You know I've eaten noodles twice a day. That I was in the hospital from exhaustion. I didn't know, but you never said. I gave a bitter laugh. So if I don't say it's not real, Lena went quiet. I didn't wait. I hung up. The next morning I booked a flight to Chicago. No letter. No heads up. I needed answers from Mom. From where it all began. When the plane landed at O'Hare, snow dusted the rooftops. I dragged my suitcase out, took a cab to our old neighborhood. The streets I knew felt foreign now. Mom opened the door when I rang. She froze, seeing me. "You came without telling, because I didn't want you to have time to prepare." She stepped aside. I walked in, set my suitcase by the familiar sofa. The house was the same warm, tidy, faint apple pie scent. But something had changed. Maybe me. I sat, no preamble. "Do you know what Lena told me? You send her $3,500 a month. Do you know I work 3 jobs, eat noodles, collapsed from exhaustion, while she wears designer clothes and drinks cocktails at rooftop bars?" Mom sat silent, hands clenched in her lap. "I don't want excuses. I want the truth. Why do I have to push through while Lena gets to lean?" Mom sighed, her eyes reddened. "Because I saw you as me. And Lena, as your dad. I thought, If I let the weak one falter, they'd collapse. So I propped her up. I was stunned. Then what about me? If you saw me as you, why not protect me? Because I thought you could handle it. You thought wrong. I stood looking around the house I once called home. Everything was there, but I wasn't the kid who believed being good meant being loved equally. I didn't come to blame. I came to say if you want to stay in my life, you have to see me as a person, not a model to compare. Mom lowered her head. A tear hit the wooden floor. I grabbed my suitcase, headed to the door. Before leaving, I turned. Next time you send Lena money, add a note. Don't build your life on your sister's endurance. I stepped out. Snow fell heavier, and I knew it was time to rewrite what family meant from scratch. Not with old memories, but new boundaries. Some truths don't arrive with shouts. They don't tear rooms apart or smash dishes. They come like cold seeping into bones. Slow, gentle. But when you notice, it's too late to turn back. Dad returned to Chicago on a quiet Sunday morning. No warning, no knock. Just the sound of a key turning, and there he was, long, coat-deep, set eyes. Mom froze seeing him, but Dad said nothing, heading straight to his study. Later he called me, Anna, come here. I entered. On his desk, a laptop showed the trust fund account set up when Lena and I were kids for college startups or big steps. My balance, $0. Lena's $250,000. I couldn't breathe. Dad spoke. Your mom transferred it all to Lena's private account. Without my knowledge. Without yours. I sank into a chair, air drained from the room. How long? I asked, voice hoarse. Nearly a year. I didn't cry. My hands gripped the desk till they whitened. Then Mom walked in. I did it because she needs a solid start. She's not as focused as Anna. I was worried for her. Dad didn't speak. His look stripped away Mom's thin defenses. No arguments, no yelling. Just a crack, silent but irreparable. That afternoon, Dad packed. Not much. A suitcase, some books, an old family photo. I asked, where are you going? A hotel. Then I'll figure it out. I looked at Mom. She stood there, no pleading, no apology. Just, I didn't think it'd get this serious. Dad turned to me. Stay if you want, but I need out at least to breathe. I nodded. When the door closed behind him, I realized some losses don't need loud noises. They just need someone to stop trying. That night I sat in my room staring at the ceiling. My phone buzzed. Lena. I hesitated, then answered. You know, right? Yeah. I didn't ask for it. I didn't know Mom did that. But you took it. I thought it was for school living. I didn't know where it came from. Mom didn't say. I inhaled. Maybe it's time you learn to ask. And to say no to what's not yours. Lena was silent. I continued. Everyone needs to learn to manage. Not to push forever, but to know the real value of what they have. You hate me, don't you? I didn't answer right away. Then I don't hate you. I'm angry at those who made you think you can't be strong without handouts. The phone was quiet for a long time. Then Lena whispered, I'm sorry. I didn't know if that was enough, but it was a start. And sometimes a start is all we have to move forward. The next morning, an email from Dad. I'm finding a lawyer. Not to sue, but to set clear boundaries. I've realized forgiveness is needed, but not blindness. I sat before the screen, heart heavy, but lighter too, because someone chose to face it, and I needed to face it my way. Silence is a toxic air. At first you don't notice. Then it creeps into your lungs, your heart, and one day you realize you can't breathe. After leaving, Dad stayed with an old friend, Uncle Eric, a former colleague. A small apartment, just a living room and bedroom, but Dad said it was enough. Every week he called me regular as a prescription. For the first time in years, he asked questions I'd long waited for. Are you eating enough? How's school and work? Anyone bothering you, I was thrown by the care, unfamiliar, but also late. Still, I answered, because I knew silence only lasts if no one breaks it. Meanwhile, Mom stayed in the Chicago house. She didn't call, didn't text, just sent sporadic emails, cold as utility bills. What you said before, I'll think about. Sent your tuition payment. No, how are you? No, I miss you. I read, then deleted. Didn't reply. Lena grew quieter. After our last call, I heard nothing. Maybe she was grappling with her place in our family's wreckage, but I didn't reach out. I needed distance to see myself clearly. One evening, Mom called Lena. I knew because Lena texted me Mom called, but I didn't dare answer. I didn't blame her. I understood. Some calls you know without answering, more excuses, more denial or worse silence on the other end. That house, once a haven, was now an echo chamber of lone footsteps. A neighbor told me your mom barely goes out, doesn't greet anyone, still waters plants every morning, but no smiles. I didn't know what I felt. Pity, anger, both, or just an emptiness spreading. Dad kept calling weekly, but each felt like skating on thin ice. "How's your mom?" he asked once. "I don't know," I said. "She's never asked me anything." He didn't push. Neither did I. We both knew unsaid things are sometimes scarier than what's spoken. One day, Mom sent a single text, "When you have time, I'd like to meet." I read it, left it there, didn't delete, didn't reply. Not because I didn't want to meet, but because I wasn't sure if that meeting would be a beginning or just another replay of days I had to endure. The silence between us three like three ends of a rope, each held, each afraid to pull. And me, for the first time, I chose silence, not from fear, but because I was learning to listen to myself before others. But can silence last forever? Or will someone speak truth first to start something new? Change doesn't always need long talks or loud apologies. Sometimes it's just a text. Quiet enough. Real enough. I heard nothing from Lena for weeks after she ignored Mom's call. I thought she'd slipped back to her world, all light social media smiles and rootless choices. But one late night, mid-grueling study day, my phone buzzed. Transfer $500 from Lena, attached message. "You don't have to forgive me. I just want to start over, if you'll let me." I stared at the screen for minutes, not for the money, but the words. They weren't from the sister who once dodged, who lived like the world owed her. A week earlier, Lena started working at a small boutique in Venice Beach, she later told me. No glamour. She stocked shelves, cleaned, folded shirts, cleared storage at day's end. For the first time, she said, "My back hurts, but I'm happy." I never thought I'd hear that from her. She shared the owner was a Mexican immigrant woman over 60, taking 2 buses daily to the shop. Wrinkled hands, but bright eyes. She called Lena curly-haired girl and taught her to align shelves, fold tags, straight greet customers with eyes, not snaps. "No one's ever taught me like that. No yelling. No calling me a problem. Just patient," Lena said. I said nothing, just listened. The $500 didn't change much. But it did one thing, touched what I thought was dead, the sense that someone might truly want to change. I didn't reply to the text, not from anger, but because I didn't know what to write without breaking the healing quiet. But I cried, for the first time in years, not from pain, but hope. Or maybe regret for the years we stood on opposite sides without knowing how to call each other. The next morning, a handwritten letter from Dad. "I'm learning to be a different father. Not always right, but one who listens. If you'll allow, I'd like to visit." I folded it, set it on the desk. Silence can be a weapon. But today I thought it had served its role. And maybe it was time to trade it for something else small. But real. That evening I texted Lena back. "Thanks. When you're free, send me a pic of the boutique. No forgive, no start over. But enough to say, I'm listening." Lena sent a photo 5 minutes later. Blurry, tilted, but showing a handwritten sign outside the shop. "Be kind. Always. Even when it's hardest." I nodded at the words. Then stood, turned on the light. For the first time in months, I took out my paints. Nothing grand. Just 2 hands, one old, one young, holding each other lightly on a smudged blue background. The painting wasn't finished. But it was a start. And I thought, that was enough. Not every reunion begins with smiles. Some start with a phone ringing at midnight and news that steals your breath. A year after Lena's $500 and simple text, I saw our family as a healing wound, still scarred, but no longer bleeding. Lena and I talked weekly. Not deep, but steady. Dad lived near his new place, occasionally inviting me for lunch. Mom stayed quiet. Her texts were rare, cautious. We didn't call. Not yet. Until that night. The phone rang as I brewed tea, Lena's name on the screen. I answered. Anna. Mom fainted at the supermarket. They took her to St. Vincent. I'm getting a taxi. Can you... I didn't wait for the rest. Within minutes, coat on, keys in pocket. I reached the hospital before Lena. Mom lay in bed, face pale. Stable pulse, but the doctor said exhaustion, mild malnutrition, slight weakness. I sat by the bed, said nothing. Just tucked her blanket, adjusted the IV, wiped her forehead with a warm cloth. Lena arrived later, red-eyed. She stood at the door, hesitant. I nodded. She approached, set a bag of food the doctor requested on the table, then stood still. No one spoke, but the room wasn't as tense as before. Just a tired silence, no longer toxic. That night Lena left first. I stayed to watch Mom. At 3 a.m. she stirred. Eyes opened slowly, saw me first. I don't know what she thought. I started to stand to call a nurse, but her frail hand reached out, grasped mine. Softly. Truly. Anna, she stammered. Why are you here? I looked at her, the face I'd once yearned for approval from now, fragile as a falling leaf. Because I was close? And because I know being alone in a hospital isn't easy? Her eyes welled. I don't deserve your kindness. I paused. Then everyone messes up. I've wanted forgiveness too. A tear rolled down her cheek. Her hand still held mine, trembling, but firm. The next morning the doctor said Mom needed rest and lifestyle changes. I helped transfer her to a hospital nearer her home. On the way she said little, just glanced at me occasionally as if unsure I was really there. When the car stopped at her house, she whispered, "Thank you for coming." I nodded. Today's not about the past. It's just about me being here. That evening, Lena texted thanks for being there. I wasn't sure I'd have the courage if it were me. I replied, not courage, a choice not letting resentment define me. That night, I sat alone looking at my old painting. The two hands had dried. I set it on the shelf, no tweaks needed. It wasn't perfect, but enough to say once a hand held another. And that enough for a start. Some apologies aren't spoken. They hide in overlooked corners like a note tucked in an old book's pages. But when found, they change how you see the story. I returned to my small apartment one late fall day. Gray sky, cold breeze, and in my chest I couldn't name relief, doubt, and a tiny bit hope. After the hospital, Mom recovered at home. We hadn't talked the grown-up face-to-face kind, but some things' quiet presence were enough. I spent the weekend tidying my bookshelves. Most were from college medical physiology, clinical, the language of a time I thought I'd save the world. I pulled out an old one, The Anatomy of the Heart. Not my favorite, but one Mom gifted my sophomore year. I recalled its cracked cover, her note in blue pen on the front page. Hope you always know your heart's strength surpasses all theory. I flipped pages, finding a note folded in half, tucked loosely in the chapter on the heart's conduction system. I sat on the carpet, dropped. I opened it. Mom's handwriting, handwritten. No name, no date. My girl. Maybe when you read this, I've weakened much. Or you may no longer believe what I say. But I wrote this because I couldn't dare face you. I thought you were strong, and I used that thought as an excuse to not shield you. I favored Lena not because I loved her more, but because I feared you'd surpass all. Surpass me. I was jealous of your drive, your youth, independence. And feeling I didn't name, I feared if you flew too far I'd have nothing to hold. So I held the weaker one, and pushed you away though I never wanted. Each time you stayed quiet, I thought you accepted. But now I know that was the loudest cry I refused to hear. If you're still here, I'm sorry. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know I'm learning to love anew. I folded the note, pressed it to my chest. First time I didn't cry from hurt, but from seeing someone dare face their own darkness. I was no longer a victim, but I a child and in family flawed people, striving to learn anew. That afternoon, I cooked Mom's favorite soup, what she made when I was sick as a kid. Sent her a share with a small note. You said, Lena, my heart's strength surpasses all theory. I'm not sure, but today I'll try believing you once. Lena called that night. Voice lively. Lena, I'm almost full-time. The shop's letting me handle decor. I think maybe I'm better at creative stuff than I thought. I smiled. I believe it, Lena. Less shortcuts, more steps, that's enough. I still haven't done right by you much. And you've started fixing Lena. That's enough. Everyone in this house, we're all learning. No one's aced love right. Before bed, Lena, I placed the note back in The Anatomy of the Heart, same old page. Not to forget, but to remind sometimes what's needed most isn't in books, but in a heart daring to admit it wronged. And I knew I was ready for what's next. Not perfect, but true. I thought I'd glide through graduation like a breeze. No fanfare, no send-off, no welcome. Just me and proof of surviving silent years. That morning, sun shone. Just enough, not blinding, not gloomy. I wore my cap and gown, stood before the mirror, and told myself, whoever shows this is my day. In my pocket, a fountain pen, a gift from Callum as the friend who brought food when I fainted at the bar long ago. He couldn't come, but texted, "Write your own last chapter. It's how you've always done it, right?" I smiled, then walked out. At the auditorium, I took the student path. Expected nothing. But Dad was there. Near Dad, the third row seats holding a coffee. Eyes proud, yet regretful. "I came early," he said. "Worried you'd pass by and miss me." I approached. No hug, but I nodded. "I'd know you. You're wearing Dad my birthday shirt." He chuckled softly, a smile shaky. Then Lena appeared, arms full with sunflowers, and a white-bound book. "Lena, for you. To write your story anew. Not starting sad. Starting now." I took it. Silent. Lena. Just hugged. First in years. The ceremony began. My name called. Lena applause rang. I heard but felt more. Stepping off the stage, Mom I scanned, but no one. Lena. Then, at the far hall edge, Mom through an exit crack. Lena standing there. "Mom." She lingered alone, watching. Eyes wet, hands clutching her bag. I waved Lena. Mom hesitated, turning. "Lena." I called loud, "Mom. Mom, come photo with us, Dad." And Lena looked Mom at me. Then, "Mom, Lena?" She stepped in slow, like fearing to break the calm. We stood together. Lena. Me center, Mom right. Lena's hand left Lena Dad beside Lena. The shutter clicked. 1, 2, 3 snap. First family photo in years. No one radiant, no one perfect, but all present. I knew a photo didn't fix all, but it was a door opened by presence. No one left, no one sidelined. That night, I opened Lena's book. Blank. No patterns, no guides. I wrote first, next chapter. No more missing, no more pretending. And I knew healing's magic isn't erased pasts, it's chosen presence. I never thought I'd have a dinner like that in my life. A meal with no blame, no surface tension, no sly looks or veiled sighs. A meal where no one tried to be someone else. Just people sitting together real. Saturday night I cooked from noon. Not to prove, but to make my home smell of someone waiting. Dad arrived first, and Italian red wine promised when I turned legal, never delivered till now. He grinned, handing it. "Late makeup. Still good stuff." I took it, and I'm still young enough to drink with Dad. We uncorked, poured a bit to breathe. Lena came next, a colorful salad, and Lena a lopsided, slightly burnt brownie she baked. Forgot the sugar. Lena said, added nutmeg. Seasonal vibe. I laughed. That's art. No one wants perfect. Mom last a foil-wrapped roast chicken. I took it stunned by the crisp skin and familiar scent from my middle school days. Mom hesitated. Haven't made this in years. But I remembered you loved it. Thanks, Mom. We'll all love it. We sat, no past brought up. No need. No apologies spoken. None required. Small stories flowed Lena's mix-up, labeling men's jeans as women's. Dad's co-worker calling the boss Mom. Mom's tale of me in 4th grade petitioning the principal for better lunches. We laughed unforced, unguarded. I looked at each, none alike, none flawless. But today all here, choosing to stay to eat, to let go of what didn't need holding. After, as they left, I washed dishes alone. Warm water, clean plates, clear heart. Mom came close, silent, drying dishes. Her hands shook, but her eyes didn't dodge. I needed no more forgiveness. Isn't a right, it's a new habit. Later, Lena left a note on the table. Thanks for letting me back at this table. I folded it, tucked it in the white book on my shelf. A new chapter. No vows, just presence. That night I wrote, love doesn't need perfect, just true. And I knew not every meal heals, but some. Start it. They say, how do you know you've forgiven? I think it's when you reread a letter once tear-soaked, and this time you smile. I was rummaging an old drawer, hunting a watch for a new hospital shift. Among messy papers, a pale brown envelope, no sender, no stamp. I opened it, Dad's familiar script. I remembered this letter left when he moved out that night. I was still a senior, unready for another abandonment. I'd skimmed it, stuffed it away, thinking hiding it would shrink the pain. But today, I read slow. Anna. I wrote this lacking courage to speak. You may be angry. I accept that. But no, I didn't leave because of you. I left because I couldn't stand being a bystander to unfairness doing nothing. I saw you grit your teeth, stay silent when you needed to scream. I thought you were strong, so I stayed quiet. My first mistake. I didn't know Mom moved the trust fund. But when I did, I understood why you grew distant, reserved, resilient to the point of others' guilt. You don't need to prove more. Not top grades, not exhausting independence, not everything to be seen. This is yours, love, trust, pride, not for deserving. But because finally I truly see you. Dad. I folded it, eyes dry, chest calm. A warmth spread, gentle, sure acknowledgement. I'd thought I needed an apology, but no. I needed to be looked at, named loved without terms. That day, I donned my white coat, tied my hair, left for the evening shift. Before locking up, I glanced at my small room, once a lonely trench, now a true nest. I wasn't the girl alone on campus, or the student waitressing while studying, or the eldest always strong for others to lean on. I was me, and that was enough. That night in the hospital, I tended an elderly patient post-heart surgery. She asked, "Do you have family?" I smiled. "Yeah, hard to explain, but yeah. They love you, learning to." She chuckled. "That's enough. Love takes practice sometimes." Shift ended at 3 a.m. I left the hospital, stepped into the street. No moon, but another light from within. I didn't look back. I walked on, not to leave anyone, but so they could catch up at their own pace. This journey held no magic, no clear villains, no one erased, no one crowned hero. Just one truth we chose to stop pretending. We didn't return to old ways. We moved forward together for each other. Some family wounds don't show, they simmer through years. My story isn't to point fingers, but to remind us sometimes we don't need a perfect family, just people willing to look back, mend wrongs, and love rightly. I once thought forgiveness was weakness, but it's strength enough to stop demanding and start being present. Family isn't always a safe haven, but if someone stays to learn love anew, it's still a place worth restarting. Thank you for walking this path with me. If this story touched you, leave a comment, share your feelings, or simply follow the channel. A sincere tale might be the small light someone needs, and you know what you deserve: love, no proof required.